Hello, my name is Dr. Amber Lyda. I'm a licensed psychologist in the state of Florida. I've made several videos so far, and those have mostly focused on little pieces of education that might be helpful for people who are thinking about psychotherapy or struggling with some issue that a little diaphragmatic breathing or something like that might help out with. This video is actually for people who are considering providing online psychotherapy. How did you find out about your platform? Let me just clarify what that word means in case folks don't know. So when you're building your online private practice, you need some elements to make it work. Obviously, you need video software that's HIPAA compliant. Skype is not, so don't use Skype if you're doing this kind of practice. So to get the Skype-like HIPAA compliant software that I needed, and then to also research the various phones, faxes, email. I just really didn't want to have to do all of the research to find the best of the best product. And knowing my personality, that's exactly what I would have tried to do. So I was looking to see if a platform, a place that sort of pulls all these things together, was available at a price that was competitive with what I would have had to do if I had piecemealed it all together. And as it turned out, the company that I went with was less expensive than if I had piecemealed all of those things together. I also use my note software is through iTherapy platform. And it's, if you're not using Theranos, check it out because it's awesome. And that's the note software that they use. I love it. You can also bill through it for about the same rate as through Square. So it's fantastic. Anyway, so when I saw that the rates were comparable, and I didn't have to do the legwork, and I didn't have to set up the business associates agreements. It's a legal document that you need to set up with the folks you're working with. I didn't need to do that separately for each of these places. iTherapy had already handled that, and I could pay once a month to one place instead of 6 places, and it just seemed far, far easier. So I did a quick Google search and came up with iTherapy. That's the platform that I'm using. And they were #1 in the Google search at the time. So I called them up and said, you know, what would really be involved in setting up an online practice? Um, it, it was so stupidly easy. You know, basically I filled out a form that was a little bit of a bio. I gave that to the person at iTherapy. Their owners' names are Forrest and Carol. He set up an account for me and got me access to HIPAA compliant video software, HIPAA compliant phone, HIPAA compliant fax, HIPAA compliant email. And I mean, seriously, if I spent an hour and a half doing setup, that's probably upper level estimate. It was really, really simple. Once you made the decision to do online therapy, how did the first sessions go? Well, thank goodness that my online platform does training for you before you actually get started. Maybe the other ones do too, but they led me through all of the things that I would need to think about, from basic things that I had not really thought through, like if you're on video, how do you make sure it looks like you're looking at the client in the eye? Because, you know, sometimes depending on where the camera is, it could look like you're, you know, staring off into space. That does not build rapport. So basic things like that. So I felt prepared. You know, Carol, one of the co-owners of the platform that I use, also does therapy. She's a mental health provider. So she was able to give the insider scoop. You know, you're going to need to make sure you look here, and you could set your computer up in this way to make sure that that works, and here's how far back the computer should be from you. So I felt prepared. What does a typical day a work day look like now? Well, get ready. So this is kind of a recruiting thing. I don't mean it to be that way. It just is gonna be. I love my job, and I'm talking about my job with the university, and I have, you know, for the past 10 years loved working in that setting. You work a lot. You work long hours, and you also, in South Florida, where I live, you're going to commute a lot. And to think that I was commuting 10 hours in addition to working, you know, full time, and then, you know, whatever extra work high achievers do, I was getting really tired. And I did the math one day to find out, you know, how many private practice clients would I need to see with very little overhead because it's online, you're not renting a space. How many clients would I need to see to replace my income, and what would the hours difference look like, you know? Um, and what I found was that I could work half the hours, you know, if I add up my work and my commute, I could split that time in half, and it would get me close to the income that I was making, and it would leave me all of that extra time to do projects that I've been dying to do but have not been able to get around to. I've been wanting to write a self-help book. I actually have several in my head and just haven't had the ability to do that because after all the hours of working, and I'm sure most of you can understand, you're taxed. You know, if you have kids, you're taxed. If you have dogs, you're taxed. Um, so this opened up a lot more time. And, you know, for me, time is the biggest gift that you can give to yourself. So having more time to be able to pursue things that I had been excited about professionally for a really long time and that were another way of helping people, that made me really happy. The other piece is just that we preach work-life balance to our clients all the time. And I had none, you know, and I think most therapists have a hard time with work-life balance. So this felt really like a congruent move to create a practice where I could continue doing psychotherapy, the thing I love doing the most professionally. It opened up time for me to be able to do some other professional things that I'd wanted to do for a really long time and just didn't have the capacity to get to. And then it also created space for me to step into more self-care and having a better work-life balance and traveling, as I mentioned earlier. And that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm living a life more in line with what I talk to my clients about doing. Um, and I don't know about you, but sometimes when I work with clients, I get to the end of the session and I think afterwards, God, I need to be doing what we're talking about. So this has let me do that. I am certainly not waking up at 5:30 in the morning anymore, and that makes me happier all the way around. How did you feel? Freaking awesome. I mean, it's just so cool to be able to do what you love to do and to do it. Look, I'm at my house. This is my backyard. To be able to do it at home and hang with my dogs and be able to go to the gym, which I tell clients to do all the time, and I'm never able to do it. To be able to meet with people who otherwise wouldn't have been in therapy because we're able to do it in the comfort of their own home, to have increased flexibility for them, for me. Yeah, it feels awesome.